I've started using YouTube placements when it comes to scaling further with Google Ads more recently. And in this video, I want to cover my exact strategy on how I'm using YouTube ads via my Google Ads account to scale multiple e-commerce brands to the next level. Now, unlike Google Shopping ads or Google search ads even, YouTube campaigns take just a little bit of extra time to really perfect and dial down. However, once you dial them down like we are gonna be looking at within this ad account, they really can be taken to the next level, at least in my experience. But there are a few things I want you to understand before we really dive into my YouTube ad strategy and understand the gist of how to implement it. The first thing is you need to really know what YouTube ad campaigns results really depend on, and you might be surprised to find out that these things are very different from Google Shopping ads or Google search ads. So the reality is, based on my experience, I've seen that YouTube ads rely heavily on how good the video is. I mean, that makes sense if we think about similar platforms like Facebook, TikTok, so on and so forth. The video really does a majority of the talking. Same thing is true for YouTube ad campaigns. So the first thing you need to dial down and get right is the video itself. The second thing is the ad copy, and this can directly be related to search ads, because just like search ads, YouTube ads also need good ad copy with proper copywriting to really make that lasting impact and to make your customer want to buy from you. So let's start off looking at this specific ad account right here. Look at the YouTube campaign we currently have going on. So currently I'm looking at the all-time results for this campaign. I'm gonna change it to the last 30 days right here to show you guys how this campaign has been performing in the last 30 days, which it has been doing extremely well. The break-even ROAS for this brand is around a 2x, so it's performing above and beyond what we had hoped for it to perform at. Looking at the last 14 days, we can see that the results have remained pretty steady. In fact, the ROAS right here, this column is the more accurate version, because this is something I set up to look at the ROAS based on the conversion time, but it's at a 4.72x, still fairly decent. And in the last 7 days, we can see it has remained around that area right here, but just with a slight drop off of around a 1x, which is going to be common with YouTube ads. But nonetheless, this YouTube campaign has been performing extremely well. One of the more successful launches we have had with YouTube campaigns so far. And again, with limited information out there as to how YouTube campaigns really work, it's a matter of just guesswork, just figuring out based on implementation of strategy after strategy after strategy. But luckily, because you're watching this video, you don't have to guess anymore. But let's start off kind of going into this YouTube campaign, understanding the overall strategy and understanding what is making it so successful to begin with. So when it comes to the approach for the actual ad that we use within this YouTube ad campaign, if we go inside, what I really want to focus on is how we decided to come up with these ad copies. And in total, there's about 6 different ad copies running within this ad account, but the top ones are the ones bringing in the most amount of sales. So the top 3 are really the ones that are bringing in the majority of the sales. I mean, this first one brought in 17 sales, this one almost 8 sales, this one almost 7 sales, so on and so forth. So we have multiple different ad copies in here because of a specific strategy, which I'll be going over very shortly. But before I do that, let's understand how all of these ads and ad copies have been designed. Now, for security reasons, you will not be able to see the actual ad, but to give you a gist and a summary version of how we decided to come up with these ad copies is basically it's either one of these 2 categories. First category is it's either a testimonial by a real customer or just the CEO of this brand, because this is an e-commerce client under my Google Ads agency, your marketing. But one of the potential ad copies is the CEO describing their product or a review from an actual customer. The second way to go about the ad copy is basically the product getting showcased, meaning real life use of the product. So those are really, based on my experience so far, the only ideal ways to go about a YouTube ad campaign. And by the way, this YouTube campaign is directly targeting shorts as the placement, not regular YouTube videos. So this is really where we're standing out from the competitors. We're standing out from majority of the e-commerce brands out there, because with so many e-commerce brands focusing on just the normal form content when it comes to YouTube ads, just focusing on the regular YouTube videos, we decided to kind of take a different approach and focus on YouTube short ads. And because of that, all of these ad copies are less than a minute long. So it makes it much easier to really get the right idea across within a minute. And from what we're seeing here, they're converting the best as well. So really, if you kind of go within one of the two categories I mentioned, testimonial or just product showcase, that's really a good entry point into these YouTube short campaigns. But the overall strategy is for launching this campaign is very simple. Again, you want to imagine this as one campaign at the very top. It's followed by multiple ad groups. Like if you were running Facebook ads, you would have multiple different ad sets, and within each ad set, you would have multiple different ad copies. In this case, it's one campaign, one ad set, but multiple different ad copies within the individual ad set. Because in terms of the ad set itself, meaning the main campaign, what we're doing is we're targeting various different things. And I want to take you over to the audiences section to give you kind of an overview of how we're doing things. So first things first, we have one audience in here which we're targeting. It's like a very big, broad audience, but within this audience, if we go ahead and click on edit, this is how we have done it. So at the very top, we have a custom segment chosen of different people, and this custom segment is basically all potential keywords which either number one have already gotten this brand results, or number two are very, very specific, very narrow to the product this brand is selling. Because if you go broad here, it's gonna mess up the entire audience segment, and if that happens, the ad itself is not gonna perform well. So the key here is to be very narrowed, very broad, and very specific. But in addition to that, we're not just relying on the keywords, because we have added some certain trigger points based off of past data which can help this campaign perform even better. So there was really limited information available within this e-commerce brand because we were the first ones to launch campaigns and do like a one-time setup, but still nonetheless, we launched this one audience which is targeting all the product viewers in the last 30 days, basically a lookalike audience to make the algorithm for this campaign smarter. And then on top of that, we had added different interests, different detailed demographics, and all of that stuff. You'll notice here this is very broad, and that's because this specific niche is very broad. If yours is not so broad, if you have a very narrow focus, then this is going to be easier for you to choose. But this just lets you know that despite being a very broad niche, despite not having specific interests to target, this campaign is doing well. So that's really the power of the algorithm. That's the power of your YouTube ad campaigns if you set it up correctly. But that's essentially the main audience we have going on over there. And then we did kind of narrow it down by adding multiple different demographics. And as you can see, it's essentially every single demographic. But the reason why we divided it is so that we know exactly which demographic is working the best and then which isn't, so we can further go in, adjust the bids, exclude certain demographics, do whatever is necessary to further scale this campaign. So that's kind of our approach as for the audience targeting, the interest targeting, all of that stuff. Now moving on to settings, because this is really where majority of the success comes from for a YouTube campaign. You can see one important thing. We're not running this campaign on manual bidding, rather we are running it on target CPA, and this is where your real success with YouTube will come from. Because if you go out and if you try to launch a manual bidding YouTube campaign, it's gonna be extremely difficult to make that successful. The reason being is with YouTube campaigns, the bids can be varying drastically, and you don't want to take the risk of guessing what the right bid is. As a result, you don't want to go with the maximum CPV. You don't want to go with the bidding option for target CPM, none of that stuff. Just go with smart bidding, either target CPA or maximize conversions. Give it a certain metric here, because if you don't, it's gonna go crazy and overspend, which you don't want. So have it set up in that manner. But besides that, everything is a pretty basic, straightforward setup. It's only targeting one country, and there's really nothing to it besides that in terms of the strategy. Now for the networks, we're targeting all three of these networks, which is again not as important as the actual ad itself as the actual ad copy itself. So if you have to focus on anything, you want to be focusing on the actual video ad you have here or the actual text here. If you follow either the testimonial strategy or the overall showcase of the product strategy, that's pretty much enough, along with, you know, targeting the right keywords, using the previous data, which by the way, I don't recommend you start a YouTube campaign if you already aren't getting sales from your shopping campaigns or your search campaigns. YouTube campaigns are like an addition to scaling further with Google Ads. But in addition to that, using your previous data, using your previous audiences to further scale, all these things combined are basically the things that will drive your YouTube ad campaigns straightforward. But I want you to keep one simple acronym in mind, which is KISS, basically KISS, which means keep it simple, stupid. Now, obviously, I'm not calling you stupid, but that's what you want to do for YouTube campaigns, because I've seen way too many brands, and I've even done this myself in the past, where we have launched these fancy ad copies, we have launched these big video ads which take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes long to finish, and not gotten enough results from them. But on the other hand, this kind of approach where it's very simple, very straightforward, if you look at these ads, they're just some of the most basic ads you will ever see. We're just targeting the YouTube Shorts placements. This is what is working the best for YouTube. So again, keep things simple, keep things steady, but if you're doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level. Go onto my website at euromarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But I want you to watch this video right here on how I create winning product images for Google Ads specifically. The images make up 90% of your success, especially with shopping, and this video will teach you my strategy on doing that.